Hi, I'm Tony. I'm a lock carpenter in Sydney and I specialise in installing architectural hardware and luxury handles, locks and all the accessories that are difficult to install. If you're a carpenter, locksmith or even handyman, you may find this video very interesting. I'd like to introduce the TRADIE router jig 2.0. This just landed from Russia. It's been a work in progress and I've been working alongside Door Profi to put together something for the Australian market that will suit most applications. This thing can't do everything, but it can do most things, which is brilliant. It's not limited to just installing one hinge. You're not going to pay hundreds of dollars for this just so you can install a 100mm butt hinge. It's a perspex base with an aluminium side rail and it's designed to route out for hinges, concealed hinges, face plates for locks, lock bodies, flush pulls. It takes interchangeable templates like these here. I've kept the paper backing on it so you can see it better. They just drop in place and you just make the cuts as you need them. And the best thing about it is it creates a tight chamber in here for the dust to be trapped and sucked through the vacuum port. So it has advanced dust extraction, which is an amazing benefit. And if you do a lot of routing, you'll know as soon as you make one cut, it just sprays dust everywhere. And yeah, you can get attachments for routers that just attach so the dust gets sucked up through here, but it's not as effective. With this, you don't need to attach anything to the router. It just takes it all away for you. It's an amazing benefit. I'm just going to talk about the basics here, and there's advanced stuff that this can do, but that'll be for another video. So pretty much we work with a template like that, drops in place, and then you need a copy ring on the base of your router which follows the shape of the template without damaging it. We use a 12mm cutter and a 16mm guide with the capability of using plunge cuts, whereas a normal trimmer or a flush cut bit can't plunge. As soon as you change the height up and down, it's just not going to work. I've used them in the past. Some people love them, I hate them. I've used them on my festal jig before and even cut the side of the jig, so I thought that's it. I'm not using flush cuts. This is the best way to do it. I've been doing it for over 15 years. It's not my idea, but I saw people doing it overseas and I've been doing it ever since. It may seem like advanced carpentry, but once you get the hang of it, it's a great skill to have and it's the best way to install. With this, we use copy rings and 12mm cutters for most applications. So that's like butt hinges, lock face plates, shallow flush pulls, things like that. And that's by using, these are kind of long reach cutters for a small shank. And they'll do most of what you want to do. But when you start doing lock bodies, concealed hinges, cavities for pivot door hardware, things like that, you need a long reach cutter. So this is fully adjustable. You don't need a screwdriver each time, you don't need an Allen key. You do everything by hand. You just turn the knob, move this from side to side, look at your little gauges here, so you work to the 1/2 mil or the millimeter, and then you just tighten it off. This rail slides across, depending on where you want to put it on the door frame. There's so many ways you can use this thing. On the face of the door. In here, you've got markings, zeros for the middle, and then you've got reference points wherever you want your center line to be. If you're doing hinges, they can be anywhere on this because there's so many different sizes. We can't have just markings for one hinge or one lock or too many reference points. So this gauge will help you. It's designed also, when we're putting hinges on a jamb, we often come down 150mm from the top. In Russia they do about 200 or so. We had to redesign these templates and move them towards the top instead of being in the center. I've put them up higher like that. so that when you measure down, if you butt that up to the top of the head of the jamb, and you've got your 2.5mm gap there, from there to the cut there is 150mm. So that's how we work in Australia, and you can go more if you want, but you don't go less than that. I've seen people hang doors with hinges 100mm down from the top, and it's just not how I work. It doesn't look very nice. Concealed hinges the same way. It does have a removable piece down here, so when you button up against the face of the door, and the reason you do that is perhaps you want to install flush pulls. Like this is the Halliday Bailey flush pull lock, and you go on the side of the door. You butt it up like that, adjust it across to the back set of whatever that is. And we've got a back set guide there from 40 to 60. So as an example, we'll take it all the way to the maximum, which is 60, and you'll see the mark. That's actually 55 there, so that's full reach, and then we can shift that over. 60. So that's how quick it is to adjust. Now that would go like that, and the template you use would be cut in the centre. So as an example, I don't have one here. If you're going to do the spindle holes or the cylinder hole, well, that's centre of the template, and then that works for 60 back set. So this rail here to the centre line of that will be 60. Now the dust extraction isn't as effective doing it on the face of the door, but that's why there's that little piece here which you can remove. That piece. So when the door butts up against that, it covers the chamber of the vacuum port. Removing that piece allows for the suction to come out the side holes. So that's only if you're doing the face of the door like that. Otherwise you keep this in place. So whether you're doing cylinder and spindle holes, or you want to do flush pull cutouts, that's how you do it. We have markings here and here, which is for your door thickness. So at the moment I'll set the rail for a 40mm door, and it's easier to set up on the door once it's clamped on. That's on a 40mm mark in there. So with lock face plates, it's always centered 25N from the edge, and that allows you to work off this reference mark here. So if it's a 40mm door, which you've got it set up there, and 20 would be your center, so you line that up. Now if it's out a little bit, and things can vary, your router might be cut in a bit more to the left or to the right, or for whatever reason, you just do a test cut just lightly, and then you undo that, and you can see how you can just move it over 1/2 mil or just whatever you want, tighten it up again, and once it's set, then you can do repetitive cuts. Also, to clamp on the door, for example here, so if that was the door, and you're clamping on like that. But Festool have these type of clamps. It's like a T-slot, and they hold them in place. So top and bottom, you can use the Festool ones, a quick grip type as well, or just these ones that wind in. So that's a nice feature. No other jig has that. They might even hold, they might have Makita or DeWalt ones like that, I'm not sure. So that's how you grip it there. Even if it's a rebated jam, you get the idea that this plate that would fit into the rebate, and that would slide over the face of it. So it doesn't matter if there's a stop bead on the frame, you can still install T-strikes, D-strikes, electric strikes. So that covers everything about the jig. Like I said, the main purpose of this would be to install butt hinges and concealed hinges. The advantage is it can also do other applications, flush bolts, flush pulls, pivots for doors. You can do the face of the door for the cylinder hole cutouts, the spindle holes. There's other things it can do. The most commonly used jig that I see on Instagram is for installing hinges. So this is next level with dust extraction, fully adjustable. You invest in this once, and then you buy these as you need them. They're very cheap, $15 each. They'll last a long time. If you break them, it's not a problem. I can't see how you break one. They sit below the surface, so the router base doesn't rub on them. It only rubs on this top piece. So you're never going to damage that. You're not going to accidentally cut the edges like when you're using flush cut bits, because you've always got this thing protecting. So you can't damage a template. You'd have to leave the cutter hanging out and then accidentally pull it out and nick the side or something. Once you do that, template's hopeless. So this is a safer way to cut. The basic requirement to get set up to use this template system is to use copy rings and have them attached to the bottom of your router base. This might seem like advanced carpentry, and it's different to using flush cut bits or just normal bits, but it's definitely the way to go. And once you get your head around it, once it's set up fully, you'll never go back. You'll be fully capable once you have all the collets, all the cutters, the copy rings that you need, and preferably 2 routers. I say 2 because a smaller one like this will do most applications, but then when you need to plunge deeper, you need a larger size one. Now the challenge is, every router base is different and they hold different size copy rings. Festool, for instance, they supply their own, but they don't use a 16mm copy ring, which is what we're working with. We want to use a 16mm copy ring with a 12mm cutter, creating a 4mm difference. That's 2 either side. And that's how we work with these templates. So to work with the Festool router and the 17mm copy ring, we've imported 13mm cutters, which creates a 4mm difference. These have 8mm shafts, so you're going to have to get the collet to suit each cutter that you use. The common sizes that we have in Australia is 1/4 inch, which is 6.35, which is a thin shaft. 8 is still common, which is that type of shaft. And then we use 12.7 for some reason, imperial size. In Russia, they use 12. So we'll be importing these cutters because they're very unique and they're good for deep plunge cuts, and they just have specialist cutters. So if you want to accept a cutter like that, you have to get a Festool. Well, for a Festool, you have to get the 12mm collet. You can't use the 12.7 1/2 inch. So they're easy to get. That's the good thing about Festool, they have everything. Whereas Makita and DeWalt, you might have a challenge, but it's not impossible. You can order them in from a specialty tool store. So when you buy the TRADIE Router Jig 2.0, it comes with a carry bag and a 6-pack of butt hinge templates. Now the reason I supply a 6-pack is because hinges vary in size. There's no 100mm perfect length hinge, they all change. And so we've covered all the bases by supplying 99.4 and upwards of 0.3 increments, right up until 100.9. So we have a template that suits every butt hinge that you have. An example here is this side. It says 100.3, but on that leaf it's 99.75. So every brand's different, every hinge has different quality, and they vary. Once you find the right size template, you're good to go. And if you want to play it safe and you think your hinge is 100, you could go the next size down, do the cut first. If it's too tight, then you go up 0.3. And so that's the best way to do it. So you really need all of those. There's no point just having the one, because it's not going to help you. We want to make it as easy as possible. So we cover all bases with Festool. We've got the 6.35, the 8, the 12 and the 12.7. So you can take any range of cutter. With the copy ring, we're working with 17. If you wanted to work with 16, you'd have to get a universal base plate like that, this is from Trend in the UK. And I've been using this for many years, and it accepts the Trend copy rings. And I've had the whole range from say 10 up to 30 mil in size, because you want to be able to adjust and be able to suit every application. And I've been using different copy rings, and I've been going between 12 mil cutters and 12.7 mil cutters just to make that fine difference. So they're easy to get still. You lose 8mm in plunging depth when you attach one of these on. And it's a bit bulkier as well when you're trying to slide this up here, and you might hit the end of that, and then you've got to turn the round around and go like that, and that's why I've cut that end off. That used to be attached to my Makita RP 1800, and that was a great router. I recommend it. It has a greater plunging depth than this one, and probably the big model plunges deep as well. I can't remember the depth, maybe 80 deep. With this model, they accept the 6.35, which is 1/4 inch, which allows you to use cutters like this. This cutter's from Trend, and I've been using these for many years. They're the centre point plunge tip points, so you can plunge down, whereas a normal router bit you can't, you just burn the end. And so they come with a collet to hold these. They also supply the 8mm collet, so you can accept this size. And I'm pretty sure Makita would be the same as this type, the plunge base type. So you can accept the two sizes, but you can't take 12mm shafts. It's just not big enough for this model. You have to go the next size up. I like to use cutters with a bigger shaft, 8mm, because I just think it's safer, especially when I'm like trying to extend the reach of the cutter so I can plunge deeper. I don't want anything snapping on me. Nothing snapped on me before, but you know, it just depends how good you are with the router. I don't push it to its absolute limit. I don't burn the things out. I just take it easy. It is dangerous routing. I've known a couple of people a lot of people make near misses. They'll damage the jig and things slip off the door and everything. It's like, I want to make it safe and as easy as possible for you. So that covers the collets. So we won't supply them. They're easy to get from Festool. They're easy to get from maybe Carpenter, places online. It just depends what router you want to choose. So the next thing is the copy rings. Now we'll be supplying copy rings to suit most routers. The Festool, it's harder to supply a copy ring for that unless you use the universal base plate. And the thing is with this one, we want to use a 20mm copy ring when using a 16mm cutter. So that's another challenge, because Festool only have a 24mm, they don't have 20. So that will mean having to put a 20 on here. That's a 20mm copy ring. So I've been using that recently. I've been working with this router. We'll work something out. If you use a 24mm copy ring, that means you have to have a 20mm bit to have that 4mm difference, which is not impossible either, and you can buy them easy. I may be able to get this type of cutter in a 20mm and a longer reach. This one's 130mm long, and I'm going to be getting 160, and that's for advanced routing, plunging deep for lock bodies and pivots and things like that. So the copy rings come from Trend. They're easy to buy. They might be $30 or $40 each. We'll be selling these for $15 each. They're made of aluminium, they're made of steel. Both just as good for what we're doing. We've got a model to suit the DeWalt base. That's a Trend one there. But this is the same type. This is our model. So that just screws in to both of these. You wouldn't use a 20mm copy ring on that because it can't take the 12mm cutters or the 16mm cutters. And what's another thing to mention? These trimmers, like it can fit into the plunge base, and they also fit into things like this, which is okay for doing butt hinges. If you just set the length that you need on the hinge and you just drop it in, do the cut, take it out again, you'll still get effective dust extraction. So that would be fine just for doing butt hinges. It won't be good for doing concealed hinges where you need to plunge. So I just always recommend having the plunge base and not even using something like that. But you've got the option. So then let's talk about cutters. So with the Festal model, and because we're using 17mm copy rings, we have imported 13mm cutters with an 8mm shank. So it just means using one of those on there to do your butt hinges, your shallow cuts like face plates, things like that. With this model you can still use it, and the Makita as well, but you'd use a 12mm. So this is a 12, that's a 13. We'll be supplying both, and that's a long reach with a plunge cutter. So these are ideal for working with this type of template and doing what we want to do. I've always been using the trend ones up until now, and they've been great. Like they have the plunge cut tips. That's a 6.35. You can get them in 8. You can get them in all the sizes really. So you can just order them from the UK. Probably a bit more expensive, but they're high quality, and I'd recommend them. Absolutely buy them if you want. And on my website, with each type of template, I'll probably have a list of recommended cutters to use, as in for the length, because for concealed hinges you need to go deeper, that sort of thing. Doing lock bodies, you need to go a lot deeper. With deep plunge cuts, I must say, and like I was doing a job yesterday installing the Fitzgerald's pivot, I had to go 100mm deep, and I was using this cutter, and it sticks out the bottom of the, I had this on with a 20mm, and the cutter stuck out a little bit like that, which is fine because you still got 20mm before you hit the door using the template. But then I cut to its maximum reach, which is probably 80mm deep, and it still had 20mm to go. So what I did is cut as far as I could with this. Then I removed the template from the door and just put the router straight on the edge of the door. And that was fine because the copy ring goes around the cavity. I wasn't going to go off the side of the door or anything. And that allowed me to plunge 105mm deep. So that was maximum. That was the maximum length, and it worked. But we will be ordering 160mm, so it'll be a bit easier. But that's advanced routing. You've got to be really comfortable using a router, and that's, yeah, I'm just showing you the capabilities. We'll be selling accessories for installing doors and hardware. What I'm excited about is a double corner chisel, which there's two advantages of this. One, obviously the speed. You just slide up and down, tap, tap. You can also do lock face plates. This will fit inside a 22mm faceplate. So you do top and bottom, turn it over, but it lines up better because with a single corner chisel, it can twist. And depending how you hold it, a lot of people I see on Instagram, they're so fast, like boom, 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 and it can twist and it wrecks your edge. It's not a perfect cut, but this lines up because it's got a longer side on it. It helps you to stay dead, like square, 90 degrees. Tap, slide up there. So this beats the other ones on the market in Australia. That's the best so far. So that covers the accessories. There'll be door stands, there'll be other things. At Door Pro, you have a lot of exciting installation gear, which I'll introduce to you, and I'll be importing over as well. So to sum it up in a nutshell, with the TRADIE Router G 2.0, to get started, you need templates, you need the right size collets for your router, and you need a couple of cutters, preferably 12mm and 16mm. And then the copy ring to suit your base plate. We will supply all of that eventually, and at the moment we do have copy rings, we do have some cutters, and we definitely have a lot of templates. I've got over 100 different types, and the list is growing every week to cover all applications. And if there's something we don't have, we'll get it made up really quick. It's easy for me to design, get it cut, and shipped out. It won't cost you any extra, it'll just add to the library. So there you have it. I hope you're as excited as I am, and hopefully you like the videos that I do showing the dust extraction, because there's something nice about plunging a sharp router bit deep into timber and making a perfect cut and having all the dust just instantly sucked away before your eyes. Especially through clear perspex, you see it all, and it's just nice to watch. And a good example is when I had a job where the people were living in the home, it was a finished home, and I had to hang a door with concealed hinges right beside a walk-in wardrobe. And they had all their nice clothes all lined up and everything was uncovered. And I was working right beside it, and I had to put 3 hinges in, and I clamped this to the frame, and the suction was brilliant. Like obviously with these, you have 2 cuts. You have a face cut, and then you have a body cut. So it doesn't matter which way around you do it. I could do the face first, put the body one in, and then once I've finished routing, you look down, there's no dust on the floor. It's completely sucked up through this. So that's the TRADIE way. No other jig can do that, not in Australia. I'll be doing more videos. Stay tuned. I'll be posting them on YouTube, TikTok and Instagram. Please like and comment. If you do have a lot of questions, preferably just DM me, email or text. I don't answer my phone. I'm always working, or I'm either filming, or I'm always doing something. I can't take a lot of calls, but I'll always get back to you. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned something, and I'm excited to share this with you and get you going and set up and taking routing to a whole new level for you. Routing indoor hardware just got a whole lot more enjoyable. Thanks for watching.